Jrue Holiday. His peers say he's the #1 defender in the NBA.
Smith guarding him. Horford to set the screen. Here comes Tatum. Drives, goes inside at Siakam. Off the glass. Missed it. Nembhard has it. Rick Carlisle says go. Nembhard drives into the paint. Knocked away. It's stolen by Holiday. Siakam trying to get him, and he fouled him with 1.1 remaining.
There's a running joke in NBA circles. If you want to know who the best defender in the league is, don't ask the media. Ask the guys actually getting locked up. And the name that keeps popping up like a bad matchup in the playoffs? Jrue Holiday. For years, he's been the league's worst-kept secret, a one-man nightmare who guards 1 through 4, never takes a playoff, and blows up game plans for fun. And yet, no Defensive Player of the Year awards, not a single one. Every year, it's the same story. The votes roll in, and Jrue's name is either hidden in the fine print or left off like he ghosted the entire season. Meanwhile, the guys he puts in jail are getting the flowers. So today, we're not here to cry about snubs. We're here to show you why the players, the real ones, call Jrue Holiday the best defender in the NBA. We'll dig into the stats, the jaw-dropping playoff moments, and the receipts from NBA stars who've been on the wrong end of that Holiday lockdown.
Jrue Holiday is solidified as probably the best defender in the league at the guard position. The way he, well, when we talk about defense, a lot of people don't really understand what defense really means. You know, it's a force for different positions, especially at the point guard, the stuff you got to do to guard. They don't get a lot of credit for fighting over screens, and especially now they're getting screened at half court. Guys are running off a pin down. So I feel like it's a huge discrepancy between what the players think and what the media thinks.
If you've played against Jrue Holiday, you already know what time it is. The second you see him checking into the game, your heart drops a little. That crossover you've been practicing all summer, save it. That step back that works on everyone else, keep it in the bag. Among NBA players, you know the guys who actually have to deal with him when the cameras are rolling, Jrue isn't just respected, he's feared. In a 2023 anonymous player poll by The Athletic, Holiday was crowned the best defender in the entire league. Not the best guard defender, the best period. He snagged nearly 30% of the vote, leaving defensive juggernauts like Marcus Smart, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Bam Adebayo eating his dust. That kind of landslide victory doesn't come from media hype or Twitter highlights. You earn it by ruining people's nights. And Jrue? He ruins a lot of nights. Damian Lillard has gone on record calling Jrue the toughest defender he's ever faced.
To me, he's the best defender in the league. Like, out of the guards, I think he's the best defender.
We were in the middle of the game against Utah the other day. I think we were at the free throw line or something, and Joe Ingles turned to both of us and was like, "Yo, you're the best defender in the league." Like, he just the way he stays in front of guys.
He is, bro.
He'll full on reach, miss the ball, and somehow get back in front of the ball. It's unbelievable.
No, he is.
Kevin Durant, arguably the most unguardable scorer ever, says Holiday's defense is Hall of Fame level. And even Steph, who makes most defenders look like they're stuck in quicksand, singles out Jrue as one of the very few who can actually stay in front of him. So, what makes him different? It's not just the athleticism, though he's got that. It's discipline. Jrue doesn't reach, he doesn't bite on fakes, he doesn't fall for your fancy footwork. He's the rare defender who can lock up a shifty point guard one possession and hold his own in the post the next. No help needed, no switches necessary, just Jrue, his footwork, and those hands that seem to be everywhere at once. There's no showmanship to it either. No yelling, no mean mugging after a stop. His defense is quiet, controlled, and relentless. It's the kind of work that doesn't always show up in the box score, but every scorer who's had to go through it remembers.
Series tied at 2 apiece. Marcus Smart goes to the rack and blocked by Jrue Holiday. He throws it off Smart. Milwaukee ball. What a play by Jrue Holiday.
So when the league's top bucket getters consistently call Jrue Holiday their worst nightmare on defense, but that respect never translates into hardware, you have to wonder, What exactly are these voters watching? TikTok highlights? The gap between how players view Jrue and how awards voters ignore him just isn't unfair. It exposes a fundamental flaw in how we measure defense. DPOY, Defensive Player of the Year, typically goes to whoever has the most defensive rebounds or highlight-worthy steals. But Jrue's genius lives in containment, pressure, and disruption. The stuff that makes offensive players pass up shots that normally take without thinking twice. Still, if you know where to look, the numbers back it up. Start with his career defensive rating, 109.3. For a guard who takes on the opposing team's best perimeter threat night after night, that's not just good, that's elite. For context, that's rating rivals or beats several past DPOY or Defensive Player of the Year winners like Marc Gasol or Tyson Chandler, who got far more media love and weren't guarding Steph, Dame, and Luka on the regular. Then there's his steal numbers. Holiday averages 1.4 per game over his career, and while that might not seem earth-shattering, it tells a deeper story. He doesn't gamble like other defensive specialists. He doesn't sell out for steals that leave his team exposed. His timing is surgical. He strikes when it matters most, whether it's poking the ball loose in transition or jumping a passing lane in crunch time. But it's the advanced metrics where things get even more interesting. Year after year, Jrue consistently ranks among league leaders in defensive win share and defensive box plus minus 2 stats that attempt to capture overall defensive impact. From 2018 to 2014, Holiday has consistently averaged 3.2 defensive win shares per season, meaning his defense alone accounts for about 3 extra wins each year. That's the difference between making the playoffs and watching from home. Now, are these stats perfect? No. However, they match the eye test. And more importantly, they confirm what coaches already know. When Jrue is on the floor, opposing offenses suddenly look like they've forgotten how to play basketball. But stats only tell part of the story. What truly defines a defensive legend is what happens when everything's on the line. And when you look at Jrue's career, his big moments aren't buzzer beaters or highlight dunks. They're defensive plays that changed history. Take the 2021 NBA Finals Game 5. Series tied 2-2. Late fourth quarter with the Bucks clinging to a razor-thin lead. Devin Booker drives into the paint, looking to give Phoenix control. But Jrue, he was waiting. In one fluid motion, he rips the ball clean from Booker's hands, pushes up court, and lobs it to Giannis for what might be the most disrespectful alley-oop in Finals history. It was one of the defining plays of the Finals, and it started with defense. Without that steal, the Bucks probably don't win that title. That's the Jrue Holiday effect. That championship moment perfectly encapsulated what makes Jrue special, which makes what happened next all the more surprising. Then came 2023. In a move that shocked a lot of people, the Bucks traded Jrue to Portland as part of the deal to acquire Damian Lillard. To be fair to Milwaukee, it was a calculated move aimed at boosting their offense, but in the process, they gave up the heartbeat of their defense. Jrue never even unzipped a Blazers jersey as he was flipped to the Boston Celtics days later. What happened next? Well, the final piece of Boston's championship puzzle had just fallen into place. Jrue slid seamlessly into the Celtics rotation like he'd been there for years, giving them the elite on-ball defense they needed to close games. With Derek White by his side, Boston suddenly had the most terrifying defensive backcourt in the league, like facing 2 sharpened Wolverine claws every time you crossed half court. In the playoffs, Jrue took on everyone, guards, wings, bigs, and he made them all uncomfortable. He didn't stuff the stat sheet every night, but he made winning plays, rotations, steals, stops, silent assassinations. By the end of the 2024 Finals, the Celtics were champions, and Jrue Holiday had his second ring. One with Milwaukee, one with Boston. 2 completely different teams, same result. And in both cases, it was his defense that made the difference. Throw in his gold medal with Team USA in the 2021 Olympics, his multiple all-defensive team selections, and his ability to lead by example everywhere he goes, and the picture becomes clearer. This dude is a defensive pillar, a system all by himself. So, if the eye test sees it, the stats prove it, and the stars say it. Why is the recognition still MIA? In 2023, he received exactly one first-place vote for DPOY, one solitary vote, the only guard even in the conversation. And in 2024, despite anchoring the championship Celtic defense all season, Holiday was once again treated like an afterthought in the voting, even as his teammates and opponents couldn't stop singing his praises. This isn't a new problem either. Since Gary Payton won DPOY in 1996, guards have been mostly locked out. Kawhi Leonard broke through for 2 seasons, but outside of him, the perimeter has been shut out. So, the question becomes, what is the league actually rewarding with this award? Is it about actual defense, versatility, consistency, big moments? Or is it just about the loudest swats and the most dramatic steals? Because if defense is about stopping the other guy, being everywhere, and making winning plays, Jrue Holiday checks every single box. If the award can't recognize that, then maybe the award itself needs a defensive adjustment. The truth is, Jrue Holiday may never win a Defensive Player of the Year award. He may never lead the league in blocks or dominate SportsCenter's top 10, but his legacy is already cemented, and it's built on something far more valuable: doing whatever it takes to win championships. He defends, he sacrifices, he leads, he delivers. They call him a role player, but he's really a culture setter, a closer, a champion. He's earned the ultimate respect from the best players on the planet, not with Instagram posts or highlight plays, but with his work. So what does this mean for anyone chasing a name in this game? You don't have to be the star. You just have to be indispensable. Be the guy who dives on the floor, takes the hardest assignment, locks up the hot hand. Be the reason your team wins, even if your name's not on the marquee. Because if you do your job so well, the stars can't shine without you. You're the reason your team hangs banners. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit that like button, subscribe for more NBA content that goes beyond the highlights, and drop a comment telling us which player's journey you want to see next. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one.